Welcome to Align to Your Design. I'm your host, Baeth Davis. Isn't it time to wrap your business around your purpose and bring your greatest work to the world? Each week, join me as we explore various biometric tools such as human design and hand analysis and how to use them to fulfill your destiny and align to your design. We will reveal how to do the work you are designed to do rather than what you think you should do. Hey everyone, welcome. So glad you're here. We're at almost 100 participants. This is, and then it closes. The webinar closes at 100 participants. So I'm glad you got here. This is discovering key secrets of the I Ching and how it impacts your human design. My special guest, I'm going to bring her on in just a moment, is Mindy Mayhew. She is an I Ching specialist. She also specializes in the Akashic records and does channeled healings for her clients. She is on a mission to help people bring more of their gifts into the world in a spiritually fulfilling and healthy way. I'm so thrilled that she's here today. She reached out to me about what she does, and I said, we've got to do a call for the community. I think this would be so very amazing. So with that, I'm going to bring Mindy on. She has a special presentation for you. I will periodically pipe up at her direction with some human design information, and you're going to be using those coins for some I Ching exercises. So with that, let me bring on our wonderful, beautiful, amazing co-host, Mindy Mayhew. Mindy, welcome, welcome, welcome to our session. I'm so happy that you are with us. And I think I need to activate video. Hang on one second. Oh, I do. Okay. Now you should be able to activate your video. There we go.
Hi. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sure can hear you. So nice to see you.
It's so good to be here. Thank you guys so much for having me. I'm so excited about this.
We are so excited too. So would you want to bring up your presentation now?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay, go right ahead.
And share screen here.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure you can see what's open. Okay, are we seeing?
Yeah, just there it is. There it is. Yep. We're good.
So we're going to dive right in. Let us know in the chat if you guys need me to pause at any time. There's a lot of very specific directions, so I'm going to go nice and slow. There's lots of steps, but they all incorporate one after another, so I'm going to make sure to go nice and slow for you guys. First and foremost, let's go ahead and just dive in to how the I Ching, or the intro of how we are. As Baeth introduced me, I am a spiritual ascension coach, so I work with all sorts of different modalities, and the I Ching was actually my very first one. So it holds a very special place in my heart. This was my first way of giving energy readings. I found it when I was just 16 years old, and it actually inspired my tattoo that I have here, which I will be talking about. I did get it at 16. I was just like, this changed my life. I've got to go and document this. And here I am today, still sharing and loving this concept. So that is a little bit about me and who I am and what I do. And you guys know Baeth pretty well. She's a human design expert of 23 years. Do I have that right?
Well, 23 years with scientific hand analysis and about 7 years with human design.
Awesome. Okay, perfect. So let's dive right in on what we're going to learn. This is a little bit of an itinerary. We're going to go over some basic vocabulary that you will find used with the language and a little bit of the language barrier situation with this ancient Chinese concept. So it's going to have an intro as well with the human design gates, as the I Ching hexagrams and the gates are the same thing. So we're going to have two different perspectives on that, which is going to be really amazing. We'll go into a little bit of history of the I Ching and then the full tutorial on how you guys are going to get an energy reading that you do for yourselves today with this step-by-step walkthrough. And then it'll be how the I Ching impacts the human design system. So what you will need, as you guys know, is the 3 coins and then a favorite journal that you have, as well as something to write with. So you'll be drawing this hexagram that you see on the screen here, and of course an open mind. And the I Ching always asks that we meet it halfway. So just having that presence, that present moment to really tap into the gorgeous magic that's available to us here. So this is where we're going to begin with human design, and I will ask Beth to sort of intervene a little bit on this topic, but this is a very blank human design chart, and we see the numbers here, the little itty bitty numbers, and those are the gates. And so this is the first way that people are able to identify where the gates are. And then the other way is this rave mandala. This is where we can actually see that outer layer of the circle has the hexagrams listed on them. And what I wanted to really zoom in here on these images from Jovian is we have the I Ching, and then we have these little notches in here. And if we zoom in really, really closely, we see that these are actually the lines of the I Ching hexagrams. So we have this specific hexagram and then broken down to each individual line. And you guys will connect a lot of dots today when we go through this tutorial as to why that is. So Beth, do you have anything to add about the rave mandala?
Well, just briefly to say that within the I Ching, there are 64 hexagrams. The 64 hexagrams are each linked to their own unique gate. There are 64 gates, and there are 64 codons of DNA. So the I Ching is an ancient system that understood the people who downloaded it, created it, were inspired by it, understood these 64 different frequencies. And if you're looking at your human design chart, what is colored in is you, are the gates that pertain to you, the hexagrams that pertain to you, the DNA that pertains to you. And why I wanted to have this session with you, Mindy, and to share with our community is to deepen the understanding of the most ancient part of human design, which is indeed the I Ching, and that the I Ching is the precursor to the discovery of our DNA that, amazingly, has 64 primary codons. Now, I believe within the human genetic code, there's 20,000 different genetic configurations within the human body, but they are based upon these 64 codons. And so the areas that are colored in are the gates or codons or I Ching hexagrams that are linked to you as an individual.
Yes, absolutely. I love that. Yeah, and I thought it was really interesting as well with the codons. It just always so happens when we're diving into things like this, whether it be spiritual or the scientific side of things, how many dots connect without us really having to worry about it, right? We have these like aha moments where it's like, oh, coincidentally, but of course there are no coincidences. So that's beautiful. Let's go ahead here and we will move on to more of, oops, we'll go forward here. This is just another zoom in here of that number 11. So you can see how it goes from just that head to the 11 and then even deeper. So that's just kind of zooming in there. And we're going to move into the I Ching. So I always call it the I Ching, but actually the translation would be more of an X or an XJ to be more Jing. So there's that. And then the I is actually the long E sound. So I Ching is the proper way of saying it, but you'll see me slip up a little bit as well. And we have this symbol down here in the corner, which is what I actually took to the tattoo artist to have here on me. And that is the word Tao, T-A-O, and it means everything and nothing. It means everything put together in perfect harmony. And in my estimation, the I Ching and the Tao Te Ching really go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. And the I Ching being the oldest book, and then the Tao Te Ching being sort of grandfathered in with that entire concept being its foundation. So they do sort of go hand in hand. And from that, we also see Osho and Hinduism and Buddhism stemmed from that. So you can kind of start to see the progression, but it did all begin with the I Ching. Okay, so let's have this little quote here. We are all wanderers in the unknown. Those who travel beside the sage are protected from harm. This is something that is taken from the I Ching, and I think it just really perfectly expresses the intention of the I Ching. And we're going to get into a little bit more of that when we get into more vocabulary stuff. So This is just a little bit of a disclaimer. The I Ching has been translated many, many times. The first ever book that was created was in the 9th century. So somewhere between 750 and 1000 AD, BC, excuse me. And it's actually known as the original beginning process of calligraphy itself. So the first language in terms of that Chinese culture. And the contents that I am sharing is from my personal experience and a translated version of this original text. So just so everybody is very aware of that. Okay, so let's go into a little bit of this history. We actually see the little DNA movement going through here. And this person that we see here is Fu Ji, who is actually known to be the first emperor of China from the Zhou dynasty. And again, the original beginning stages of creating calligraphy. And we see him with the I Ching lines here. And he actually said that the information came to him from a flying dragon horse. So it's just really cool how this could have been a very real human, and it's more than likely so, but it actually goes so far back in time that he's a mystical, mythologic, in Chinese mythology. So he's a cultural, mythical character, if that makes sense. And then we have some New Age translations here, and I'm going to give you all some examples. These are the texts that I personally have, and I recommend to you all. We do have a deck of cards here if you're interested in that. This would be the Tao Oracle, and I have those cards here with me. They do have those keywords, so you will see the hexagram here, and then 2 different elements, and then some text that gives you that little bit of a baseline understanding of what each hexagram would mean, just as a really brief summary. Again, I mentioned that the Tao Te Ching really goes hand in hand with the I Ching, and so I recommend having them as a partner to one another. And we will go into deeper as a way for you all to be able to win some of these recommended reading materials as we go along here. Okay, and now let's go into a little bit of the progression of the I Ching. So I always like to say that this is not for the faint of heart. It's actually very stoic in nature. It's like the grumpy old grandpa who only like points and grunts at stuff and gives you 1 or 2 little keywords and then says, go figure it out on your own. So again, it's just very harsh at times. The tone is very straightforward and it will kick you on your butt. And it usually will begin with that harsh beginning stage as kind of like shaking the snow globe. And then it reminds you to be in the present moment. So it kind of softens as it goes and brings you to that present moment where you can be sitting on your butt and being like, okay, I get it now. I'm willing to see this differently. Give me this perspective shift. And then we go into some of the language that you will be able to see here. So prepare to hear things like relinquish, withdraw, quiet, and remain, and maintain. So these verbiage choices, when my personal estimation, is to remember the value in being innately at one with all that is. So going back to that present moment and then really expanding your consciousness to being at one with the universe as a whole. So again, knocks you off your butt, sits you on your butt, and then says, we're going to have this expansive experience. And the best reward that you can hear in the I Ching, the positivity at its peak, would be attaining the aid of the sage. So when you have achieved the present moment, when you're there for the perspective shift, the best possible thing that you can hear from the I Ching system is you have the support of unified consciousness. You have the ability now to know. And that's kind of that optimal ability there, is having that inner knowledge. So that's always the goal, is to have that equanimity. And of course, some of the positive things that you might hear is devotion, enduring, persevering, things like that. So be prepared to hear some of these words. Again, not for the faint of heart. Some of the more negative ones are very colorful when it comes down to it, Things like rushing on ice, gluttony, you'll see humiliation is to follow, self-indulgence leads to misfortune, things like that. So it's very colorful in how it likes to speak to us. Just a couple more words here. At the top, we have the sage, and the sage is also just a verbiage for higher power, or if there was a deity in this cultural system, it would just be known as the deity. Taoism is actually not considered a religion because there is no God. It's all very much the yin and yang coming together, the two parts, the masculine and feminine meeting and creating harmony. So because there is no deity, it is not a religion. That's why this is a cultural theology. Okay, so you will see a lot of times higher nature, higher power, the sage, the master. That is who we're tapping into and connecting to, which also is the definition of Tao, which we have the symbol here again. They also will have he and she intermingled. So it will say she is the master, he is the master. It will intermingle those things. The other thing is correct and incorrect in terms of action, in terms of principles, things that you're doing, things that you're calling in the present moment. So you'll see a lot of this proper principles, modesty, humility, and you will see as well superior and inferior situations, inferior and superior human interactions. So then moving on here, I will open for some questions here after this slide because I know I'm going through a lot, but we do tap into this whole concept of unlearning, non-action, undoing, and again, taking your perspective to shift back into the now and then open up to that higher nature. And it goes into, again, being one with all that is. So you're giving away the 3D of the world that we live in and tapping into more of that 5D that everyone's kind of talking about right now. So the ability to practice non-action and gain intuitive insights is really the goal of the entire I Ching system. And the words that you will hear is retreat, disengage, unlearn, and fall back. So coming back a step, you will see that a lot. And then you will learn whether you are headed towards fortune or misfortune. And in terms of outcomes and events that you're calling in based upon where you are in the present moment. So it really encourages you to really breathe into the positive present moment before we run through the walkthrough so that you ensure that you get a positive response, because it is possible to get a negative response from the I Ching. So let's go ahead and just open for a moment to questions. If you guys have any questions so far, or if we're ready to move along.
So before we do that, before we open for questions, if you do want to ask a question, please raise your hand. Raise your hand. There's a raise your hand button on your screen. So if you do have a question, go ahead and raise your hand and we'll see that hand go up. And I do want to add something here, Mindy, to what you shared earlier about how the I Ching starts out a little harsh, because those same keynotes are used in human design. And very often I find people want to get away from them. They want to go to the happy place. And there are other authors in human design that make things sound very, very rosy, and it misses the point. That shadow material is vital to the transformation because it's the shadow everyone's running from. And so if you keep running from the negative words, the contraction, the decrease, the humiliation, whatever the word is, you miss the point of this whole experience, which is to grow and to not be in shadow. And in order to not be in shadow, you need to not run from the shadow. So I just wanted to add that, that this system is very direct and very clear. And that's much like my personality. And I think that's one of the reasons I like it so much. So let's see if there are any hands up. Gianna, will you see if there's any hands up? You can just unmute the first person you see, but I don't see any questions. Oh, there we go. We've got a question. So Gianna will just unmute and you can speak. We won't bring people on video, but And then if you'll lower the hand, Gianna, once they've answered once the question's been answered, that would be great.
Teddy, you're up first.
Here we go. Mindy, can you elaborate on what is the 3D? We all know what our 3D world is versus the 5D world you mentioned. Can you elaborate on it?
Absolutely. Yeah. So the 3D is living in the world under the realm of corruption, right? That's what most people are going to explain this as. It's paying bills, it's going to work 9 to 5, it's going through the harshness of the world as we know it. And the 5D is tapping into a freedom-based lifestyle, launching that business or whatever it is that is living your purpose. So that's what both Beth and I do, is tap into people's life purpose and help guide them into that more intuitively led way of being. So as you are tapping into 5D, you're at one with all that is, and therefore intuitively guided, and therefore living in alignment, where 3D is more living by default, is how I like to explain it, which is that things come and take me and sway me to and fro, rather than me being the creator of my experience. So that's kind of the duality there as I see it.
And Mindy, what's 4D? I mean, I was just joking about this with my clients earlier that, people are talking about 5D and we live in a 3D world, and to actually go 5D is quite a feat. But is there a 4D in between the 3D and the 5D?
Yeah, there is. So 3D is three-dimensional, where we live in a time, space-time continuum.
Right.
It's the physical,
cause and effect.
Mental. Yes, exactly. And then 4D incorporates and moves through time. So it's a different understanding of how time moves. So that is more just being very direct with how you work with the element of time. So you have the physical, the mental, the aspect of time, and then the 5D is with the unified consciousness and with that intuition leading the way. So that's, again, just my interpretation of what that all means.
Right, thank you. Teddy, did that help answer your question?
Yes, it did, and it made a lot of sense because I'm a former math teacher, and the 3D world is length times width times height. And I knew that the 4D world adds time, and it's good to know that the 5D is adding consciousness. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, I love that. That was a really good explanation of 3D as well. So I love that. That's amazing. Okay, so just going to go ahead and move along here. We have another couple key phrases, just things that I have pulled from the I Ching to give a little bit more into the language that's used. So in terms of governing and leadership, as I mentioned, Fu Ji was the very first emperor of China. So we have this understanding of leading people, being a master, therefore having this leadership role, right? And it says, by not dominating, the master leads. And then in difficult times, so in times of shadow, in times that you don't know what to do, and you consult the I Ching, you may get an answer like, a dark impulse clings. Do not resist it with violence. Simply decline to express it and wait patiently. So again, that would be in a moment where you don't know what to do and you're feeling the clinging. You hear the clinging a lot. That's actually one of the gates. And so it's a detachment in order to wait for the sage to come through and give you that direction from a place of quiet. And then the present moment, one who stays centered is unmoved and unharmed. And you'll actually hear unmoved quite a bit, which just means, again, not being at the disposal of other people's influence, and instead standing tall in your belief systems and being very solid of what you're here to do and who you're here to be, and allowing the opinions of others to just kind of fall off your back. In terms of manifesting, you may hear something like, remain steady and allow the world to shape itself. And I love that. It's relinquishing control. Okay, so let's dive in a little deeper here. We are ready for our demonstration. Go ahead and grab your coins. I'm so excited about this. These here are the actual traditional I Ching coins, and we have some quarters here as well, because I assume many of you will have quarters, and they just need to be the same denomination. So 5 nickels, 5 dimes, 5 quarters, whatever you have.
You mean 3, right? 3? 3 coins, not 5. You just said 5.
Yes.
You meant 3, right?
3.
Wait, it's because we
Absolutely.
were talking about 5D and 3D. I know the brain is like 5, 3 coins. Okay, got them.
Yes. Absolutely. Okay, and we're going to take a second here to just kind of breathe and center ourselves. Again, the I Ching asks that we meet it halfway, which is just simply to be present. Make sure you don't have any tabs open in your brain. Make sure you don't have dishes going or kids scrambling. Even if you do, there will be a replay. So just taking a moment here to center yourself and also to set an intention. If you have a specific question in mind, just hold that in your center. And now we're going to let go of perfection. This is something that I actually did with one of my favorite journals. I had the journal for a long time and didn't write in it because I was afraid of making it look dirty. And I'm here to tell you all, we're going to have some rough drafts. We're going to be scribbling and making notes, and it's going to look very messy. And then we will transcribe it afterwards to be more of like a work of art. So let go of the perfection and let this get messy. All right, you guys, so we are going to start with the notebook, and we are going to start from the bottom up on the left-hand side, going from 1 through 6, just making those notes. These will be our lines. Again, the first one is at the bottom, and we have a little bit of a gap or a space between 3 and 4. So we will actually end up with 2 trigrams, which will then be put together to be a hexagram. So just giving you guys a minute here to do that. 1 through 6 from the bottom up. Okay. Now we're going to roll the coins. You have 3 coins in your hand. You want to let them drop. And you will have a combination of heads and tails. Heads are worth 3. Tails are worth 2. And we are going to go ahead and add up our denominations. As you see here, I have 1 head, which is worth 3, 2 tails, worth 2. Therefore, my number, my grand total is a 7. You can only have a 6, 7, 8, or 9. So don't overthink this. Just add up your denomination and write it on the right-hand column next to line number 1. So at the end here, we'll have a number 1, and then whatever number you just rolled. And we're going to go ahead and continue that all the way up the page. So you will roll the coins 6 times. Again, just giving you guys a moment here to do that. I know the coins like to roll on the floor and they like to get away from us. So we're writing our columns here. And if you guys have questions about how to get to this point here that you see on the slide, just raise your hand and I will give you guys plenty of time. If you'd like to even have us allow the people to write done when they get to this point in the chat, then I can move forward at that point. Okay, how are we doing? Beth, do you have yours?
I do. I probably need another minute or 2. It
Yeah.
seems like everybody understands it. Your head gets 3 points, tails gets 2 points. You're only rolling 3 coins, so add them up. It can only be a 6, 7, 8, or 9. Yes, I have my numbers.
Good, good.
All right, done, done, done. Okay.
We're seeing some dones?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll just give a couple
And
minutes
it looks
here.
like, Gianna, it looks like we have a hand up. Will you just unmute Susan and see if she's got a question?
Yes, thank you. I have a question about how to ask the question. Are we asking for I Ching guidance for a yes, no question or?
No, we're not there yet.
No, okay.
We're just, right, we're not asking any question, are we, Mindy? We're just rolling coins.
The way that I like to say it is just to hold the intention. So if you have an intention for career, then just be thinking about the career as you're rolling the coins. If you're thinking of love, I like to give people categories. So it's either love, romance, family, future, career, money. That's just the easiest way. If you have a yes, no question, you can, but try to be very open-ended with your question so that it's not too tunnel vision specific, because again, it's going to blow that proportion out of the water anyways. So very open-ended, but you can hold that intention. Absolutely.
Thank
Great
you.
question. Thank you, Susan. Great question.
Absolutely. Okay. Are we feeling ready? How do we feel?
Let's do it.
Okay.
Now, someone says hang on, someone says they're confused. All right, now if you're confused, let me explain. So you have 3 coins. Each coin has a head or a tail, right? Heads is the front of the coin where the face is, and then the tails is whatever's on the back. And you can decide what your heads and tails are, depending on what coins you have. But if it's the head of the coin, you get 3 points. If it's the tails, you get 2. You're only using 3 coins. So when you add up the value of heads or tails, it will add up to a 6, a 7, or an 8. You're going to roll the coin 6 times, starting with number 1 down at the bottom of the page, and you're going to put your score as you go up. So that's how you do it.
Absolutely. Yep. So you will have these numbers here. Again, the left column is just numbering from the first roll is number 1. The second time you roll is number 2, so on and so forth. Okay, so hopefully that made sense. And again, the instructions will not change. They will stay on the screen, so don't panic. But what we're going to do next is identify any number that you rolled that is a 6 or a 9. If it's a 6 or a 9, just circle it, and we're going to come back to it later. So
all right, now, hang on, Mindy, one more second. I've got a question here. Someone's asking, why does her example have 9s on it? It's just an example. If you have 3 coins and you roll 3 heads, 3 plus 3 plus 3 equals 9. So if you get 3 times 3, you're going to get a 9. Now, you might not have gotten a 9. I didn't. I only got 7s and 8s. I didn't get a 6 or a 9.
Awesome.
So it can only be 6, 7, 8, or 9 as your total if you're using the 3 coins, right? So if you get 1 tail and 2 heads, that's 2 plus 3 plus 3, right, which is 8. If you have 3 tails, it's 2 plus 2 plus 2, which is 6. Yeah. If you have 2 tails and 1 head, that's 7. If you have 2 heads and 1 tail, that's 8. And if you have 3 heads or front of the coin, that's 9. So it's all based on the combinations you'll get when you throw the 3 coins. That's what you're looking for, right? Adding up the totals. Got it? Okay. All right. Go ahead, Mindy.
Absolutely. And I'm going to go ahead and just pause here because I know some people are still catching up. And this is just some added background information that I will actually be diving deeper in our course that's coming out. So we will be talking and mentioning that throughout. But as you tap into this spiritual knowledge, you will be called to the numbers 3, 6, and 9. And Nikola Tesla told us that if we were to understand the value of 3, 6, and 9, we would understand the whole universe. And here we are studying something that's thousands of years old, and they also bring significance to the numbers 3, 6, and 9. We're using 3 coins, and if you have a 6 or a 9 on the totals that you've rolled, we're just going to circle the number, and I will come back to it. Okay, so I think we're ready to go ahead and move on. Your notebook should look very similar to this. Don't worry if you don't have a 6 or a 9. And Beth, I kind of love that you don't, because we will have some duality there.
Right.
I do have a question.
Go ahead.
Let me let them talk.
Go ahead, Mary.
She's muted.
Oh, I don't see
Can you
that.
unmute Mary? Mary, you need to unmute yourself. We can't hear you. Gianna, can you unmute Mary?
It doesn't allow me to. She has to do it
Okay.
herself.
All right, Mary, you have to unmute yourself. It's in the lower left corner of your screen. Just click on mute. Okay, we'll move on. Go ahead, Mindy.
Okay, and Mary, if you want to put your question in the chat, maybe Gianna could speak it to us. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and move on, and this is where we bring in the lines. So again, starting from the bottom here, if the number on your right-hand column is odd, any odd number, it gets a solid line that connects over to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. And if it is even, it has a line with a gap in the center. So starting from the bottom here, we're just going to work our way up the hexagram. Again, just if it's odd, it will always get a solid line. If it is an even number, it has a broken or an open line. So I will again just wait until we have some people caught up here to where your notebook will look nice and messy, just like this. And we will have an upper trigram and a lower trigram. So at this point, we can give just some significance to what the energy of the lines are. So a solid line is masculine, and what we call either the broken line or an open line is feminine. So just as people are catching up here, if you have a hexagram here with all open lines, that will be the number 2, which is all feminine. And if you have all solid lines, you would be all masculine. So you can kind of see by looking at your hexagram, if you are all the way solid, all the way broken, it is masculine versus feminine energy. Okay, are we ready? Okay, so now what we're going to do is I like to draw these little brackets because again, we have the upper and the lower trigram, and now we are going to consult the diagram. So again, this is something I provided for you here. You can also Google this if you wanted to do this again and again. You can do everything online, but again, this is from the Tao Oracle, and we have the upper trigrams across the top of our graph here, and the lower trigrams are listed here along the left column. And what we're going to do is find your upper and find your lower, and that will give you your number. So giving you guys plenty of time here, and you're going to just write that number somewhere on your paper so you can hold that number with your hexagram. And just switching here, this is just another way of looking at it, another way of seeing it. Instead of seeing the symbols for each of the elements, we just have a word here. So again, if it's all solid, you will get the number 1, which is the creative or masculine. And if everything is open, you would see here earth and earth, bringing us to the number 2, which if we look it up is the feminine or receptive. So giving you guys just another minute here to find your number. And once you have your number, write it on your page somewhere. Okay, we ready?
No,
Not yet?
definitely not. No, we're going to need more time for that.
Okay, I will leave this open.
All right, so Danny's asking, what is the odd? Danny, the odd numbers we're looking at is when you threw your coins, right? When you throw the coins. So
Yeah.
you need to throw your coins 6 times and add up the totals from the coin toss, and then you can do this part. Okay, cool, great, wonderful. Then you just draw a line or a broken line next to whatever numbers you rolled, right? So if it's a 7 or a 9, it's a broken line. If it was a 6 or, no, sorry, I have that wrong. Sorry. If it's a 7 or a 9, it's a solid line. If it's a 6 or an 8, it's a broken line.
Yes.
And then you're you're not adding them up. You're breaking them into, let me just spotlight my screen.
Okay. I can also bring back the odd versus even if we'd like
It's okay. Just spotlight my screen. You need to stop your share, Mindy.
Yeah, sure.
And then I'll just pop on the screen and show everyone my paper. Actually, I'm going to bring up a whiteboard is what I'm going to do.
Stop share. Okay.
All right, perfect. I'm going to bring up a whiteboard and I'm going to show this to you all so you can get this. Okay, so first we started out with, let me get a smaller pen here, right? You wrote in your journal 1, 2, 3. This is the lower trigram, right? So I'm just going to put a line there. And then we have 4, 5, 6. All hexagrams, hex means 6. Gram is like a design, right? So the design of 6, the map of 6. So that's why we have 6 numbers for the 6 lines. And then you have 3 coins. So the front of the coin, or heads as it's sometimes known, but that may not make sense to people who are in different countries. So front of the coin gives you 3 points, right? The back of your coin equals 2 points. Basic math here. All right. You're going to roll the coins 6 different times. So on the first roll, right, you're going to add up the front and backs for roll number 1. So I got an 8. Why? I had 2 fronts and 1 back. That adds up to 8. Then on my second roll, I got 2 backs and 1 front, which is a 7. And it kept going like that for me. Now let's say, Danny, you rolled on your third toss and you had 3 fronts. That would be a 9. And then let's say on your fourth roll, you had 3 backs. Well, 2 plus 2 plus 2 is a 6. And then on your fifth roll, you had 2 fronts and a back. That would be an 8, right? And then on your sixth toss, you had 2 backs and a front. 2 plus 2 is 4, plus 3 is 7. So all you're doing on each of these 6 rolls of the coins is adding up the totals, right? The coins have a value. Front has 3 points, back has 2 points. I hope this makes sense, right? So you're always rolling the 3 coins. And then the question becomes, did you roll the front or did you roll the back? And that gives you your total. Have I got this right, Mindy?
Yep, you're doing good.
Then if it's a 6 or a 9, no, sorry, let me clear that. Keep doing this. No, not right. If it's a 6 or an 8, it's a broken line.
Because
like
it's
that.
even. Yep, an even
Yeah, because it's even. Even numbers broken, right?
Yep.
7 or 9 is a solid line.
Because the number is odd. Yeah.
Because the number is odd.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do this hexagram. Okay. So 8 would be broken, right? 7 is solid. 9 is solid. 6 would be broken. 8 would be broken. 7 would be solid. Then Mindy brought up the chart. And the chart shows the trigrams, which are 3 lines, not 6. It's not a hexagram, it's a trigram. And you're going to have 2 trigrams in your now created hexagram. So what we're going to do, let me write this down and then I can show the next step, right? So the bottom part would be broken line, solid line for the lower, right? And then the upper is broken line, and a solid. So Mindy, will you bring back up your graph now and we'll go to the next step?
Absolutely. You have to unshare your screen.
Yep. Okay, let me stop share.
I do have some questions.
Okay.
If you want me to bring them on.
Yeah, go ahead. Bring on
the.
Let's just finish this process and then we'll bring the questions because
just so we finish our thought.
you're rolling coins because this is how the I Ching was started. It's a predictive tool. People threw coins to get these answers. Yeah. That's why. We're doing the most ancient. That's why we're rolling coins to play the old game of, right?
Yes.
So let me just annotate here. So I've got, from the example I just did, my first lower trigram, right? Lower's here. And upper is here, trigrams. So my lower trigram was broken line, broken line, solid, solid. So if I look here, where is it? Broken, here it is, sun. Yeah, that's the lower. It was broken, solid, solid. And then the upper one I had was Ken, which would be up here. And then I go this way. Yeah. And I got the number 18.
And
So
there's your
all
number.
you, right, that's your number that you're looking for. Okay, so with that, let's take the questions, Gianna. You can just unmute the first person and we'll hand it over to Mindy.
Okay, first up, I have Sarah.
Hi, you just answered my question by showing the diagram. Thank you very much.
Good,
welcome.
good. Glad to hear that.
Next, I have one more, and it's believe.
Oh, I'm so confused about this particular part. Like when I look at the diagram and I'm factoring in my numbers, I have the one that says water or on water, and then I have one that says sun wind, but then there's multiple numbers to the right of it. So how do I know what number it is?
Because you're gonna do the, what is in the lower trigram? Just read out the lines in 1, 2, 3.
Okay,
Line,
so
what did you get for line 1? A broken line or a solid line?
broken line.
All right, broken,
And then,
followed.
yeah, then the next one, the line 2 was a solid, and then
Yeah.
the line 3 was a broken line.
Okay, so you had this one, right? And then what did you, and
Yep.
what did you have in the upper?
In the upper, I had a broken line, and then a solid, and then a solid.
So you had sun,
Yes.
right? Over here,
So
right?
it
So
says
notice
sun
that
width.
this is lower trigram. This is upper trigram.
Okay.
And then we go.
Got it.
So it's number 59. That's your gate.
Got it. Okay. Okay. Thank you. I'm so sorry. Thank you so much.
That's okay. It slows us down and then everybody can kind of play catch up a little bit too, so that we get to the same point at the same time. Okay. Do we have other questions or are we ready with our numbers?
I have another question,
Okay.
and this is Elizabeth.
Yes, hi. I'm a little bit confused because when I join both numbers, like I'm on the same column, like there is no crossing column, because on the lower I got number 12, which is Earth, and then on the upper I got Heaven, which is 1.
No. You're not pulling the number from here. What's your lower trigram? Read
My
what lines do you have? Read out the lines. Say solid or broken.
I got broken, broken, broken.
So this one.
Right.
And then what's your upper trigram?
Solid, solid, solid.
It's up
Oh,
here.
so there's 12. Okay.
So yeah, so your number would be 12. You did that right.
Okay, so I got it right. Okay, I thought I got it wrong. Okay,
Now
thank
remember,
you.
everyone, the numbers, how many numbers are there, everyone? 64,
Yeah.
right? Because there's 64 possible combinations of these lines. Do you all see that? There's only 64. There aren't more, because if you combine them in a graph like this, right, it's the same. These are the same.
Okay, thank you. I
Right?
thought I got it wrong.
So there's only
So
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 combinations. There's 8 combinations of how those coins can be thrown. And then you do a lower and an upper, and then you get your number. And so there's only 64 possible combinations. And there,
Thanks a lot.
hopefully that makes sense to you all. Okay, good. All right, Gianna, any other questions?
Yes, I have. Oh, never mind. I'm good.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So now we have our numbers. So for me, I got 55 on my entire trigram here, or hexagram, I should say. And we have everybody with their own. So now it would be time to open up the actual book. And again, you guys can Google this, which is a chapter essentially for you to read out of the book. This is one that I recommend because it's very easy. If you guys want to write this down or put it in a tab really quickly, it has each of the I Ching passages there ready for you to tap into online. I personally do have the book. So the next slide, I'm going to show you guys.
Don't go yet. Let
Okay.
people go back. There's
Okay.
not enough time. We gotta type it in.
Gotcha. Yes.
All right.
My bad.
You know it, but we don't, Mindy.
You're right. You're right.
It's okay. All right, I found it. Yeah, I pulled it up on my phone. So
and it will
any of you
actually
want,
show the graph as well. And then you click on the number from the graph itself. So this is something you can come back to and bookmark. And then all you need is your coins and that website, and you can do this again and again.
very cool. And does it have the chart? Yes, it does.
should.
So someone was asking, I think, Erin, you asked your bottom. Oh, it doesn't have the elements on this one, so I don't even know what you're asking. She said, my bottom is water and my top is fire. I don't know what that means.
Yes, so each of the trigrams are represented by an element. So if you had
Right.
water on the bottom and someone else said, what was the other?
Fire.
So we go water.
Yeah,
and
64.
fire. So she got
Yep.
64.
Very good.
Awesome.
Great.
Okay, so we have our number and hopefully we have this here, divination.com/E-Ching/lookup, and that will give you your passage to read. So for my example, I did get 55. It will have a passage and also a passage for each individual line, lines 1 through 6. So for your first hexagram, the one that we just did, you read the passage, but no lines. So go ahead and read if you would like to, or you can bookmark that.
Now I have a question for you. I didn't set an intention. Somehow I missed that. I just threw coins.
That's okay.
With
It's
no
totally
thought
okay.
in my head. And then I got this reading and I'm like, I don't even know what it means. So I probably should do it again with an intention, right? I'm like reading it. I'm like, okay, but.
Well, it would just be a general message for what you need to
Okay.
hear today. So some people will wake up in the morning and roll coins till they know what energy to bring with them throughout the day. So this would be just the energy to bring forward in the present moment to then move through the next step of your situation in your life.
Got it. Got it. And then it gives descriptions of each of the lines, which is super cool, starting with the bottom line.
But
Great.
we are ignoring that because
Okay.
that's how it was originally intended. So it's kind of fun because it gives us limitations. And I always read the lines anyway because I'm a rebel like that. I'm
Yeah.
sure you guys will too. But there is one more step. So
All right.
I want to give you guys that moment.
So you're saying do not read the passages of any of the individual lines.
And there's a reason. So I have do not
Okay.
read the passage unless you have a 6 or a 9. This is where this comes back. So Beth will not have a 6 or a 9, so she is done.
Right.
I, however, have these 3 lines here, and what I want to do is bring attention to which line is now called a changing line. So as I mentioned before, and Nikola Tesla has told us, 3, 6, and 9 do not make sense in the nature of our world. So they are like cosmic energy. Okay, so this is now called a changing line. And just like it sounds, it will become its opposite. So for anyone here who has a 6 or a 9, just switch that line to its opposite. If it was solid, it will now be broken. And I will go ahead and do that here on mine. And now I want to again bring attention to which line has changed. In my example here, lines number 3, 4, and 5 were the lines that changed. So I'm calling them my changing lines. And I now have a new trigram set of trigrams, hexagrams. So again, I will go ahead and give you guys the graph again here. So you can have your second changed line hexagram. And if there's questions, we'll leave it up to questions, but feel free to take your time here and get your second hexagram.
Right. Well, if you have a 6 or a 6 or 9, right? And you've got your second hexagram from those numbers. If you have any questions, raise your hand and Gianna will call on you. This is so cool. You know,
in
it's
depth.
funny. I used to throw the I Ching in my 20s and I had the
Really?
book of changes and I still have the coins. I didn't go look for them. They're somewhere in my cabinet in a little red bag, my 3 coins. But yeah, I used to throw this in, I'm remembering now in my 20s and I would read this, but it didn't make much sense to me then. It makes much more sense now as an older person, but the way you're teaching it is so very clear. I wish I had known this when I was younger.
I appreciate
Great.
that.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of years in the making of throwing it against the wall because it can be very harsh, like I said again. So
Yeah.
it's just kind of funny that way. So again, I got my other hexagram here, which will be hexagram number 3 for me particular. And it is these lines here that have changed. So now when we go back to our original, the passage that we're going to read, right? We're going to read the passage for the lines that were the changed lines. So for me, my example was the 3rd, 4th, and 5th line changed. So those 3 little tiny messages are the clarifier to the first passage that I read.
Got it.
Okay, and I want to make sure I bring up here again the website so you guys can see the graph again if you need to, and the passage itself for again the individual lines.
So can I ask a question? So you've got these new 3 lines. How do you create a new hexagram? Can we draw that? Will you show that on a whiteboard? Because I don't understand. I get that the 996 creates broken, solid, right? And that could be a hexagram. But what do we do with the other 3 lines? Do you separate them out?
Nope, we don't separate them necessarily.
So it's not a hexagram then? It's just a trigram? I'm confused.
Okay, so this was my original hexagram that I first drew.
Right.
And because I have 6s and 9s, those lines that have a 6 or a 9 next to them will switch to their opposite. So now I'm redrawing my original hexagram with those couple key lines having changed to their opposite. So here's my first hexagram, and here's the second.
Okay, go back to the first. Oh, I see. Okay, great. So this is the first one on the screen, yes?
Yes.
And then it just switches to the opposite if it's a 6 or a 9. It goes from solid to broken or broken to solid, and it gives you a new hexagram. Got it. Now I understand. Okay, thank you. Thank you. I hope you all understood that too. If you want to show the change again so people can see it.
Absolutely. So this was my number 55, my original hexagram that I was able to create. And because I have 6s and 9s, and they do not belong in the natural world, they are of cosmic intelligence, then they have the cosmic intelligence to change. And in this case, my line number 3 changed to broken. Line number 4 is now broken. Line number 5 is now solid because that is the opposite of what they were previously. And this gives me a new hexagram to now go and do the graph again. Okay, so that gave me number 3. And I now can find it by using this here, if anyone needs that again. And at this time, I want to read the passages just for those lines which have changed. So on my 3rd roll of the coins, because it was a 6 or a 9, I now get to read passage number 3 because it was my 3rd line that underwent the change.
Mm-hmm. Got it.
All right.
Yeah, so the changed lines would be 6s or 9s, and you can read those when in the specific descriptions of the lines.
Yes.
Got it.
Exactly.
Okay, terrific. Great.
So then we now understand why if we Google the word E Ching, we will actually see 2 hexagrams. And that is because somebody rolled the coins and got their hexagram and then proceeded with the changing lines. And that gives them 2 hexagrams to then make into a work of art, or that's going to be what lives in your journal. And you can have that number next to it as well if you'd like to. And I just found this really fun and interesting. This bottom one here actually happened to be the exact same hexagram that I rolled as well. So obviously the I Ching wanted us to share the number 55. So
All right, I have a question for you, Mindy. Sorry to interrupt. This question's come up a couple times. So for if people have a 6 or a 9 and they get a brand new hexagram, do they read the main description and the lines of that new hexagram? What do they actually look up?
It would be just the lines of that passage. Let me just clarify that.
Because you started with hexagram 55, but you would read the lines of the new hexagram?
Yeah. Yeah, the
You
new
would.
hexagram,
Okay, so the new
now you read
hexagram, and then you read the lines that have changed in the new hexagram. Gotcha. Okay, so it went from 55 to, what did it go to? What
I
did
have
the new
number 3.
It went to hexagram 3.
Mhm.
And so you'd read the description for 3 and then read lines 3, 4, and 5?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. All right.
Exactly.
Yes. So to everyone's question, the new hexagram, read the full description and then the lines that changed.
Exactly.
And if you didn't have a 6 or a 9, just read the description, the main description of the gate or hexagram, but do not bother yourself with the individual line descriptions.
Exactly.
Okay.
You're right.
All
So
right,
you get
awesome.
to miss out. You don't get any lines, except for you did do one as a random example on your whiteboard.
Right.
So that could be an additional one to practice with
Right.
as well.
So Allison, you're saying you're confused. Basically, if you have a 6 or a 9, the lines flip to their opposite. So if you know you're the 6 would be what is it? About what to read. Yeah, so you read your new hexagram and then the lines that have changed in a new hexagram. That the only people this applies to are people with 6s and 9s. If you don't have a 6 or 9 in your original roll of the dice, it doesn't matter. You don't have to, nothing changes.
Yes. So this
Okay.
is the directions, again, for the changing line. So just specifying which line underwent the change. If it's a 6, it would have been even to begin with, and it will now become solid. And for any number 9, it goes from solid to an open line. And now you have 2 hexagrams side by side. The first hexagram, you're going to read just the main passage and ignore all of the individual passages for the line. And in your second or your changed hexagram, you can read the passage and then the line passage for those lines that have changed.
Got it. Great.
Okay, very in-depth. I know it's kind of difficult to follow, but this is how the I Ching was originally intended to be used. Sorry, you wrote on here. I don't know if you want me to switch slides, but okay, so again, now we see why there could be 2 hexagrams listed here. And now you are ready to transcribe, if you want to, your hexagrams that are pertaining to you today, either just one, or if you have 6s and 9s, you have 2. And then you can add in, you know, I have the lotus flower here, Chinese text, whatever it is, and you can make a little work of art out of it to remind you of this very first ever introduction to the I Ching. And, you know, if you're a 16-year-old me, you would go get the tattoo. So, so this is the drawing here that I got my 2 side by side. I got abundance, which is the number 55, which is of course needs being met, material possession. And then I got number 3, which was difficulty at the beginning. So it's just a really cool duality there. Abundance is my intention of what I'm calling in. Number 3 is difficulty at the beginning, which is what I'm here to overcome, right? So 55 happens to be one of the gates in my human design chart. And bonus for you guys, if you rolled something that is also in your human design chart, it is obviously just something to give extra attention to and start there. This is also a really cool way to learn the gates, right? Because there's a lot to learn. There's a lot to understand. 64 different definitions is quite a lot to keep up with. So if you were to wake up in the morning, roll some coins, get the definition for what you have rolled, and sit with that energy, you're more likely to remember now what that gate means because you have an emotional memory of that gate now. And of course, seeing it from a different perspective, because in human design, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you know, there's a little bit of a simplified version of the gates themselves, or of the hexagrams. So this is a really in-depth way to learn each gate in a really deep and ancient way that brings that old energy in, that ancient energy in, which just really makes it really cool. And I did mention that we were going to be talking to you guys about the course that we have. Can I go ahead and just go into that? Okay, so there's, oh, you're muted.
That's perfect. You can go into that and then we can open it up for some hot seats.
Yes, absolutely. So here I have the flower of life. This is where we get more into the numbers 3, 6, and 9, and Nikola Tesla, and how he was able to decode a couple of the cosmic understandings of the universe. Then, of course, we have Tao here, which I mentioned a little bit, but I want to dive deeper into that with you. If you guys wanted to be a part of this 3-part course that I am hosting under the understanding of Beth's as well. We're together, but I am hosting it. There we go. So going into more of that lotus flower of Buddhism and Hinduism, chakras, and how it doubles back to this I Ching concept. So we touched the surface today about this ancient concept, but I also want to continue that branch and lead into from the I Ching to Lao Tzu and Confucius to Osho and Buddha, Gandhi, Dalai Lama, all of these masters, right? So this is a 3-part course that's going to teach you guys more into self-mastery, meditation, tapping into your own cosmic ability to find your individual blueprint for success. And it goes really beautifully in line with Beth's Life Purpose Lab, because it's just a different way to look at who you are as a person and tap into your core essence, and also bringing these other ancient concepts in to really help heighten that energy and allow you to tap into that present moment, be in the now, and be open and receptive to not only abundance in your life purpose, but receptive to divine knowledge. Again, I'm an Akashic Records practitioner, so this is just really up my alley, and I want to teach you guys more and more into that self-mastery. So for right now, we have a wait list going for this course. Again, a 3-part course. So if you would like in on that, I think we should just go ahead.
Yes, I can give you the details. So Mindy and I are creating it, and we love your feedback. I love how excited you are. If you're on this call, you registered for the call to get the link. So as soon as the course rolls out, you will all get a notification and a special early bird deal before each of us sends it out to our main list. So those of you that got here for this call, you're basically on the pre-notification or the pre-course waiting list, all of you. And even if you're watching the replay, yes? So we will have that information to you probably within the next week to 10 days, because we just want to make sure, we want to test it, make sure it works for you. And we love how excited you all are, but you're all on that notification list before we launch the course to our main subscriber list. So you'll all get the discount for registering, pre-registering, basically by showing up here. And I know you're all super excited about that. So Mindy, do you want to take some questions?
Absolutely. Yep. I am here for questions.
All right. So Gianna, if you will take the questions. I think we have one in the Q&A that was there first, and then the raised hands. Please just try to raise the hand rather than putting it in the Q&A. It makes it easier. But if we could start with the question in the Q&A, that would be great.
The one in the Q&A says, I am confused about the order of the lines versus the chart lines. Hard to explain in writing.
The order
Okay.
of the line versus the chart lines. Do you know what she means, Mindy?
I believe so. So let's just
Okay.
go over this one more time. So on your original paper, you have lines number, you've written down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and each of those numbers now will have a line identified with number 1 because it's the first time you rolled the coins. And when you roll the coins, you get a total number, and that will go next to line number 1. And if it's an odd number, you get a solid line, broken line for those that are even. So now what you have, once you've rolled all those and gotten your lines here, you will have 6 lines, and you want to have a bottom 3, group of 3 being a trigram, that will be called the lower. And then you have an upper trigram, which is lines 4, 5, and 6. And when you see the chart, which again, divination.com/E-Ching/lookup, you will see the chart there. You have an upper trigram, which is a line of 3, a group of 3 lines. And then you have a lower trigram, which goes down the graph this way. And I can share that graph again too for those who are catching up if you'd like.
Wonderful. And I think we're going to start the course in July. Yeah, pretty soon here. Because
It'll
it'll be a
soon.
3, we'll roll it out to you all in the next 7 to 10 days, and then we'll get rolling in July. And of course, if you can't attend, it will be recorded, and you can always catch the replay. We'll have a group for you to be able to access the replay. So thank you all for being here. Okay, we've got some hands up. Gianna, let's take those questions.
Yes, first up is Robin Walker.
Hi.
Hey.
When I did that, I was at a point of confusion about something. I figured it out, but I don't know if you're open to this kind of question. My first one, and I didn't know we were to have an intention. I mean, I in the brief tuning in, I had that, but anyway, the first one I got was 29. It was water and water, top and bottom. And then that switched to number 15, and 29 is like dangerous waters. and last 7 weeks, my life has been, I feel like I've been under siege. So it's kind of freaky. The other one is humility. So if you have anything to say about that, including I've got physical things going on. So anyway.
So what's interesting is I opened the book and I opened it right to that 29. So you said 29, and what was your other one?
The other one was 15, humility. 15. Yeah. And in 29, there's one line in there about making a hasty move. I'm actually planning on moving very soon. I've already had to put it off because of medical stuff, and I don't even know when I can go. So all this stuff's happening.
Yeah. So what's cool is water and water. And I want to tap into that element piece because it's very much a relaxing and a flowing. So the abysmal, which is 29, is like the deep well. It's like being at the bottom of the ocean and now being overwhelmed with confusion because you're, surrounded by the abysmal, the forever going, right? So what it says here is, let's just tap in for you. This will be part of the hot seat. How's that?
Sure.
Okay, so it does say not to act now. It says to get into effortless solutions to the trouble at hand. So it does say emotionally ambitious. Okay, so blocking the creative from resolving difficulties in your favor with this emotionally ambitious feeling. So this is just one of those prime examples of the I Ching tapping into the energy you currently have, the energy you currently feel, which is overwhelmed, feeling a little bit like things are going on, but it's almost like, how do I make my way through this? And what it's saying is non-action is the answer right now, saying that the answer will come to you as you quiet your mind. So let's go through here.
Makes sense.
And number 15 being modesty, we have a little quote here I'll share with you. The creative acts to empty what is full and to offer abundance to what is modest. So modesty being, again, bringing yourself back to the present moment and saying, what if I didn't have control over this situation? What if I allowed the element of water to take over at this point, which is a very soft flow rather than feeling I'm at the bottom of the ocean. It's rather feeling like I'm a river rock and I am open to the universe softening my surface.
Okay.
Does that kind of make sense?
It makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Robin.
Thank you.
Okay, we have time for maybe, no more hands up, okay? That's it. We've got the hands up. We'll take these questions because I have another call after this. So please, no more hands raised. If you just, did anyone just raise, if you just raise your hand, you're out of luck. Okay, go ahead, Gianna. Take the people. We've got 4 people. That's it. Okay, go ahead.
Next, I have Kate Wolf.
All right.
Hi.
Hi.
So I got 36 first, which was darkening of the light. And it definitely was that. I'm glad you pre-warned us. Thank you. With the, it might be a bit of a shock. And it was this message of being, it's interesting. It says, when the darkness of stupidity reigns in human affairs, it is best to keep your brilliance hidden under a bushel. And my work is all about like not hiding under a bushel and shining bright. And yet, you know, partly part of our conversation today, Baeth, was around like all the craziness that's out there at the moment. And it's interesting that that's what's come up. And then I got 3 6s. So that became a 9, which is interesting. So that's a 3, a 6, and a 9. And I don't normally have, oh, wow. Then within 36 and the 9, there's 3 and 6 and 9 again. And I don't normally have 36 or 9, but I just checked the transits and they are currently activated, the 36 and the 9.
Wow. So let me do this little mini reading here for you because I have it open here. So what I'm seeing between the 2 correlating together, darkening of the light, it isn't so much about, you know, the situation at hand is trying to dim you. It can be, but with the number 9 being the taming power of the small, that is a very interesting progression, saying that containment is what I'm hearing. So it's like this ability to take all of the chaos that goes on and put it in your little cauldron here and sort of see it and be like, okay, where is the darkness and how can I see that the shadow side still matters? And how can I decode what I'm seeing all together and seeing it as a blessing in disguise in a way. And it does say here, in a time such as this, it is wise to adopt a stance of outer disengagement and inner perseverance. So again, it's what is outside of you versus what is within you, and what is yours to carry versus what is other people's burden, right? So that is sort of the message here. And it does say darkness reigns in the external world now. Disengage from negative feelings and maintain your inner light. And then we have the number 9 being the taming power of the small. And that is talking about small steps and seeing the beauty in the small things. So the darkness being outside of you, it can penetrate and get into your auric field. So the number 9 is saying, make sure that what you carry along with you is really and truly yours, and really honor those small, beautiful moments and, you know, seeing the power in what is small. So it's like thinking of the butterfly, for example. It just goes from flower to flower all day, smelling sweet things, and it's made of rainbows, right? But it's so tiny. It's such a tiny organism. And yet look at the powerful transformation that it represents, right? So even though it's something very tiny, it still is such an empowering piece of the natural world. So it's really pertaining that to you and your situation. What is outside of you looking to try to penetrate into your situation, and what is maybe some of the smaller details that you can then expand and empower and make that the baseline for the energy that you are putting out into the world and radiating.
I love that. Thank you.
Does that make sense?
So much sense. Yeah, it feels really
Good.
resonant. Yeah.
Good.
Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Beautiful.
Thanks.
All right, we have 3 more people. And who's next, Gianna?
Next is Dorette.
All right. Dorette, you're muted. There you go.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So I had the question about the lines versus the chart. I think what confused me is the way I read it is, let's say line 4 is solid, line 5 is solid, line 6 is broken. Do I read it as broken, solid, solid, or solid, solid, broken?
So you work from the bottom up. So it
Okay,
would
that's
be
what I thought.
Yep. So 4, 5, then 6.
So the lower trigram would be 1, 2, and 3 from bottom to top.
Yes.
And then the same with it. Because I think when Beth read something earlier, she switched it around and that confused me.
Uh-oh.
So I just wanted to clear that. Thank you.
I didn't switch it around, but thank you. But I understand your question though. But
Okay.
yeah, it makes sense, your question. Do you understand now? Is it clear?
Yes, thank you. That helped. Thank
Okay,
you.
great. Perfect. I know it's a lot. Mindy's you're covering a lot here in a short amount of time. And if this is new for you, but like once you get it, wow, you've got this wonderful tool always available to you. Okay, next up, 2 more people.
Next is May.
All right.
Hello.
Hey, May, how are you?
I'm fine, Beth. How are you?
Good. It's late where you are. Welcome.
Yeah, it's going to bed time. Thank you so much, Mindy, for this amazing experience. I'm just wondering about, I got the 26, and that is the mountain and heaven. And then I changed to 41, and it was line 3. And is it, could you say something about the mountain and the heaven and so on? Because how does that compute with the human design, or can you say something about that?
Yeah, so about the elements, right? So it's not just fire, water, air, and earth. It actually expands to be lake, heaven, thunder. So it just adds a deeper layer to those elements. So really good question there. And it really correlates really well with the zodiac signs as well. So that's how we have the Rave Mandala and how they are placed. Essentially, let's see, so 41 is mountain and lake, 26 is mountain and heaven. So you have earth, air, earth, water. So we actually dive deeper into the elements in the actual course. So that might be something that interests you. So we can dive deeper into those meanings. But essentially, it would just be mountain is very much about stand your ground, stay empowered, be unwavering. And heaven is allowing that channel to come through. And then lake is not quite an ocean. And it's still a body of water that's quite grand, but it's not quite as grand as the ocean. So it's just those different concepts. So for you, a little hot seat here, you started with 26, the taming power of the great. And I really love this one. The quote for you is, in the face of rising tension, keep still. Honor in practice what you have learned from the I Ching. So it's actually asking you to sit with the energy for a little longer. And though it is a difficult time, it's an opportunity for you to express the outer world, your inner principles. So that again is that mountain of staying empowered, even the darkest of times, as transformation unfolds and as we progress through our experience and go down this crazy road that is life, the more we radiate of the experiences that we have encountered, the more people are able to see what we radiate. And as it says, darkness breeds beautiful people. So
yes, it's right in my alley.
Yeah. And then let's go to 21, which is decrease, and it is be still, lessen the power of the ego, and misfortune will be avoided. So again, with the misfortune there, but it's essentially decrease is about chopping away what's no longer serving you. So we have kind of a big story. Again, it's taming power of the great. And I think just intuitively for your case, the situation at hand is quite great. And you're able to say, I am more powerful than XYZ situation. And then when it comes to decrease, it's I have the power to strip away those things that are trying to steal my energy away. So it's your empowerment in terms of the outer situation not being able to get you. You know, it's like your protection is more powerful than the situation at hand. And then the decrease is you are that much more powerful that you are able to actually strip away and sort of weed out the weeds of whatever that situation is at hand. And you have the ability to throw away parts of the concept that is kind of towering over you, if that makes sense.
Wow, I just about to launch a book about this stuff. So it's amazing, like I'm like from hell to heaven and how to rise as a goddess from your ashes from the old life and so on. And today I had this interview and I was like, you need to call out your own bullshit and then you can thrive in your own life. So it's like, wow, this is so amazing. And just by tossing some coins.
It's powerful stuff. It's very powerful. Yes. I love that it goes hand in hand with what you're currently going through and talking about. So that's beautiful.
Wonderful. Thank you, May.
Thank
so
you
good to
so
hear
much.
you. You're
Yeah,
so
thank
welcome. All right. Last but not least, Elizabeth is up. Patiently waiting. I know she's excited.
Hi, thank you for picking me up since it's almost midnight for me and I'm still awake. I'm really grateful. I have a couple of questions. One's very quick, like I have, like when you have the lines, you said 6 and 9, you take the number across. What happens when in number 6 you get number 6? What do you do?
Sorry, it's a little fuzzy. So you say what to do if you roll the number 6?
You roll the number, when you have the 6 or the 9, if I understood correctly, what you take is the number across the line.
Well, let's just do this. Let's do it on a whiteboard and then Mindy can explain it. I'll bring up the whiteboard.
Okay,
and
sorry, I'm having a hard time
so will Elizabeth tell us your original
No, it's a general question. It's not for me. It's like just a general question. Like for example, if in number 6 on the top one, you get a 6. You roll the coin and you get a 6.
Right.
Then what do? You cannot use the number across.
What do you mean?
Like
6. If you rolled a 6, which would be 2, 2, 2, right? It would be 3 tails or backs of the coin, right?
Right.
And even numbers are they a broken line or they're broken.
Right.
Broken. It'd just be it'd be a broken line.
Okay.
But then this would change, right? It would change to a straight line for the new hexagram. If there were any 6s or 9s, they would change.
Oh, so you do the opposite. You use the opposite.
Yeah. So like, let's say, let me see if I've been following along correctly, right? So let's say we got a 7, an 8, a 9, another 6, and a 7, right? So the odd numbers are solid, right? Even numbers are broken. Do I have that right, Mindy?
Yes.
Yeah, but here you have a 9. The 9 number.
Right, and so the 6 and the 9. So there's that wherever you have a 6 or a 9, it goes to its opposite, right? So the new hexagram is solid, and then this stays solid, right? And then this becomes solid, and then the 9 becomes broken.
Okay, that's clear now. When you said the opposite, yeah, because I thought when you said the opposite that you were referring to the lines on the left. That's why I got confused.
Yeah.
So now the real question, what I'm interested in is knowing how do you relate it like to your human design, to the mandala? Like, do you look at the ones that you have the colors? or because like when you check
Well,
the human design,
when we let me just pause you there. When we do the course, you'll be using your human design chart as well. And basically in the human design chart, whatever's colored in is you. So
Right.
whenever you look at your full mandala, where you see those bars of color, they're pointing up to the hexagrams that apply to you. Anything in white doesn't apply to you. Now, obviously, when you throw the coins, you could pull a hexagram that isn't in your human design. I happen to pull a
Yeah.
hexagram
Right.
that is in my human design, but you might not. You might
Yeah, because
not, right?
a reflector would have nothing actually in the hexagram because they have
Well,
no.
no, the reflector doesn't have channels. The
Right.
reflector has gates, and the hexagrams relate to the gates.
Oh,
So a
okay.
reflector has hexagrams too. Every gate, there's 64 gates, and so there's 64 hexagrams, and each gate has a specific hexagram. It doesn't change. The only thing that changes is what's after the decimal point in your human design chart, and that's the line description, right? 1 through 6.
Yeah.
So I've got gate 47, but which line do I have? Well, I have to look at my human design chart, right? Do I have line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6? Because 47.2 is going to be a different frequency than 47.6. And so the line variations affect how so the gate is the theme, but the lines are the nuance of how that theme plays out in people's individual lives. Do I have that right, Mindy?
Absolutely.
Did I get that right? Okay.
Okay, and so I got number 1 because I said 12 before because I mixed up the values of the tails and the head, so I rolled them again and I got number 1. So I don't know if you can.
Yeah, number 1. Is that the hexagram you got? Number 1?
Yeah, like.
Do you want to share about that, Mindy? Hexagram number 1?
Absolutely. That one's really easy. It's all creative. So you got all solid lines. That's 100% male energy, 100% yang energy, and it's the creative action moving forward. It's a yes answer, but it will require you to take action. So the receptive, if you had all open lines, would be 100% feminine energy, 100% open or undefined, if you will. And it's this. So going back to the creative, which is what you have rolled in number 1, action, moving forward, a fiery energy. And then the receptive would be a watery energy. It would be open to other influences, and it would be prompted to remain open and still. You're being prompted with the masculine energy to remain steadfast and keep on moving and take action on that next step.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. It's been very helpful and very, very interesting. I'm really excited with this thing. Thanks a lot.
I'm so happy to hear it.
I want to say to you all who are still here, we still have 65 people on the line. We were up over 100 a little bit earlier, but I know people had to go to bed, make dinner, that kind of thing. So we did really well. Most people stayed on, Mindy, for a good hour and 20 minutes. We had the whole group for an hour and 75 to 80 minutes. Everybody was on, which is incredible.
Wow.
And
Awesome.
so I want you all to know, we did this, Mindy and I. It was like Mindy found me through Line to Your Design and then had a brainstorm and reached out. She is a projector. I want you all to know, projectors, it doesn't mean you can't take action. Just put out an invitation. You might get a no, but Mindy invited me to discuss this. I was so fascinated. I said, we've got to do a call. And then this call, I'm sort of explaining to you this from a business standpoint, was a beta test. We wanted to see what the interest level happened to be. And you're all very interested. You know, most of you are interested, which we're so excited about. And so, yes, in July, we'll be rolling out a 3-part course. It will be recorded where we're going to go more in depth into the chakras and Buddhism and Taoism and your human design chart itself. And you're all on the pre-notification list. So as soon as the sales page is ready, we will send out the link. You will get a special discount. It's not going to be an expensive course, right? It's not going to be super, super pricey, but I think it will be well worth the investment for all of you. You can add this to your toolbox. And Mindy, thank you for being, I mean, everyone, isn't she so radiant? Will you please acknowledge Mindy in the chat? Like, what is your impression of Mindy? Just put it in the chat because, yeah, amazing. Because Mindy, when I met you, you just radiate such purity and innocence and light. And I just want to be in your energy and learn from you because you're just so delightful and you're such a magnificent guide and teacher. Yes, bright and shining, incredibly beautiful. Yes, 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 yes. Be sure to save the chat, Mindy. So if you ever have a down day, you've got all these people loving on you. Yes, Mindy is a projector. And so this was a success, wasn't it, Mindy?
Oh, I am so thrilled about this. It's been on my heart for such a long time. And again, finding you as well as a vegan expert who knows this stuff from that perspective and having the dual way of seeing things from two contrasting ideas, it's just really cool. And again, I just love human design for bringing attention to the I Ching because I love talking about it. And I got the tattoo and it just feels so in love and it's just amazing. And human design is bringing attention to it, which just breaks my heart so happy because we get to open the conversation again and again. And it just helps everyone to understand their unique blueprint and their purpose. And it's just so good.
Yeah, it really is. It's so magical. You know, you are so in your purpose. And for me, that's what I look for when someone wants to collaborate with me. How much joy are they exuding? How excited are they? And you just radiate a lot. And it's clear you've at a young age figured out a lot of this stuff that, you know, some of us older folks, it took us a bit longer to get rid of to decondition. You know, the kids coming in today have such an advantage to not be so hit with so much conditioning if they've got enlightened parents. So Mindy, thank you again for an incredible presentation. Thank you all for your incredible presence and participation and being so alert and asking such great questions. We will send out the notice very soon here about our July training. And Mindy, any final words of wisdom you want to share before we wrap up?
It was just so good. Thank you guys for your patience and working through this. I know it was a lot of steps. If you guys have questions, feel free to reach out to me as well. I'm happy to connect to you guys and we will be in the group, Beth's group, so we can open that discussion there as well to continue the questions and continue connecting. And again, just keep your eyes out for that course. There is a way for you guys to win some of the reading materials. So if you're interested in the I Ching or the Tao Te Ching or the Oracle cards for the gates, definitely just keep your eyes on your email from either Beth or I, and we will give you guys details on how you can actually receive one of those in your mailbox. So that's really
right.
amazing.
They're going to be part of the bonuses. Now, if you can't wait and you go and buy everything, you'll still get the bonuses and you can gift them to a friend or family member or client. Okay. But, you know, because I know some of you are just going to go buy everything right now and you're going to dive in. And that's what I do. I'm like, oh my God, I found this new thing. And I have my book of changes somewhere around. Now I'm going to go find all my E Ching stuff and get rolling with it. But thank you all. Thank you to a wonderful team and Gianna for managing this call. And welcome, Patricia. Great to see you with us. And thank you to all the members of Aligned to Your Design. And thank you all for sending your friends and family to this community, because Mindy and I are on a mission to assist you all in accessing the depth of who you are and living in a free and abundant world of your own creation. And we're so committed to helping people find and live their purpose. So anyone you send our way, we thank you. We appreciate you. We acknowledge it if you let us know. And thank you, Elizabeth. I appreciate that. I just want to keep talking because I don't want to say goodbye, but I've got to go to another call. So Mindy, thank you again. Thank you, everyone. You'll be hearing from us soon. You will get an email with the replay either tonight or tomorrow of this session. Feel free to share that replay with people if you'd like. And I'm also going to post the replay in the Aligned to Your Design group. So if you're in Aligned to Your Design, once it's loaded there, Gianna, if you'll load this recording into, make a guide section that says I Ching in the Aligned to Your Design and upload this recording and notify everyone. You can go watch it there as well. And then everyone in Aligned to Your Design can see this recording, but they won't be on the notification list unless they sign up for the call. So good on you if you sign up for the call. Lots of love. Thank you again, Mindy.
You're so
welcome. Bye for now, everyone.
Bye.
Have a good one. hope you enjoyed this episode of Align to Your Design. If you did, please grab my free report, Business by Design, at yourpurpose.com, and then join our Facebook group, Align to Your Design. See you next time.